Welcome to the Burnout, where we help teachers and education professionals recharge their purpose, revise their passion, and regain their power. The show where we tackle the problems in education, one solution at a time. I'm your host, Kendria Johnson, and we look forward to helping you beat the burnout. And welcome to another episode of The Burnout. I am your host, Kendria Johnson, and I make good teachers great by bringing them out of burnout back into a balanced life. Today's guest is a young lady I met only this year, I think. We just met this year. And we met here in Abu Dhabi. She is a fellow educator. She is a transformational coach and a course creator. But I'll let her go ahead and tell you all the great and wonderful things that she does and how she shows up in the world. And her name is Miss Kimberly Braxton. Hi, how are you today, Miss Kimberly?
I'm well. How are you?
I am well. It's the end of the day.
Yes. Thank you
Sun's
so
going
much for
down.
having me.
You are so very welcome. I went for you. I actually, asked you to come on. That's a plug for you because I'm like, I want her on my show. So I asked you to come on because I'm like, if I'm going to interview people that are making changes and moves, I wanted to hear about the moves that you were making. So tell us about what you do. First, tell us about what you do and, how you
So,
show up in the world.
all right. So I am by trade, I am a literacy specialist.
Mhm.
And I have over 22 years of experience in education. And I say teaching was in my blood because I used to play school and I would be the teacher and the student. Okay.
Yeah.
So I've taught French for most of my career and also English as a second language. And currently I am working here in Abu Dhabi as a learning support specialist.
Wow. And how do you like that? How you finding that?
I really enjoy it. I have a smaller caseload because when I taught ESL, I had like 100 students on my caseload in the
Yeah.
States.
The
Here
States.
I have 12 students on my caseload, so it's a little more manageable,
Yeah.
with the paperwork and, working with the students and the teachers. So it's really been a really great position.
Yeah. Well, that's good. I'm glad to hear that because, it's been a pleasant experience for me, but I like to hear it from other people who've been here and lived here for a while. And so when, if you didn't know the format of the show, this show called The Burnout is basically, burnout is real. We talk about it every show. And I ask every guest pretty much the same question. What do you think or what do you see as being the biggest problems in education?
Uh, that's an interesting question because it's almost like you have to put behind it here in the UAE, since you've been here or in the States, right?
Yeah.
In the States, I think one of the bigger problems is, not honoring teachers' time. That's teachers need time to become greater. And if you have meeting them to death, PDing them to death, with half the time the PDs aren't even relevant to what they really need, it's hard for them to become greater.
Hmm.
They need the time to plan. They need the time to co-plan and work together. And I think in the States, that's one of the biggest problems is that they suck up the time, which causes so much burnout, right?
Yep.
Here, and I'm only speaking at the school where I am currently, I think one of the main problems is lack of systems. If we systematize things, just everything runs smoother. Systematize I believe in systems over classroom management and
Hmm.
relationships over classroom management. But if we have systems in place, things just run better.
Yep, yep. I couldn't agree more. I couldn't agree more. So if you had to pinpoint it, Miss Braxton, if you had to pinpoint it and you had a magic wand, okay, and you could take away one thing that makes basically your life difficult, let's say. I don't want to use too many negative words. I don't want to say horrible
Challenging.
or hell. I don't want to say
Mhm,
that.
mhm,
Yes, challenging. That's a good word. So if you
mhm.
had a magic wand, tell us what you would do. What things would you take away, fix, or amend with that wand?
In education specifically, I think what I could do, the biggest thing, and this is regardless of where I have, which country I'm teaching in,
Mm-hmm.
I think is we don't every the meetings, okay? Everything
Mm,
does not require a meeting,
mm,
right? A lot of things could go out in a memo. Um, it does not always require a meeting. And to have to go to a meeting once a week, like for real, to be honest with you, every school should be blue ribbon schools as much as we meet. We meet to death. Like it's so many meetings. So I think if that's my personal pain point,
yeah.
and I actually like meetings because in my sorority of Sigma Gamma Rho Sorority Incorporated, we have meetings, but our meetings they get things done, you know?
Yeah, that's
I
another one.
feel like,
They're not
yeah,
productive.
get,
Mm-hmm.
get it done.
Mm-hmm.
Get it done. And everything doesn't require a meeting. So that would definitely be my biggest pain point in education.
I'm laughing because I understand. I know exactly what you're saying. Like the let me pontificate just for 1 second, then I have another question for you, which
Mm-hmm.
was during the pandemic, we realized that we were meeting too much and that we were basically spinning a lot our wheels on these meetings. And yet we go back to it. As soon as we start going face to face, we go straight back to it. But we realized that we could actually have a Zoom meeting, tape it,
Mm-hmm.
give someone a link, answer some
Right.
questions about what they saw, and call it
Mm-hmm.
a day, and then have probably more attendance. But we still,
Right.
now we're going right back to face to face. Now we're going right back to Tuesday meetings, Wednesday meetings, in the morning meetings, on
Right.
break meetings, to meet
Just
about the
don't
meeting
get
that we
it.
met about last week, to meet again about the meeting that we just had, then meet again, and then, yeah, I get it. I absolutely get it. Now, my next question.
Mm-hmm.
Perfect school. I know that there's no such thing as perfect students.
Right.
However, if you ran a school and it was, Braxton University,
Oh,
Braxton
that sounds
Academy,
good.
yeah, Braxton Academy, and you are the principal, CEO, founder, and everything else, how would your school look?
Well, first of all, my school would be for sure student centered,
Mhm.
and we would ditch the curriculum
Ooh, okay.
because because honestly, the students know what they want to learn,
Hmm.
right?
Right.
Most students want to learn, right?
Hmm.
And if they are learning something about the profession that they plan to go into, then they're going to be vested, right? They're going to be totally vested.
Hmm.
So, and the reason why I say ditch the curriculum is that's exactly what I did last year when I was teaching at Ron Brown College Preparatory Academy, which is a all Black boys high school in Washington D.C.
Hmm.
And I was there for 2 years. I was teaching French, and someone said to me, very wise person, one of my dear friends said, you know, how many of them are going to actually be fluent when you finish with them?
Hmm.
You got to make an impact while they're with you in your classroom. And that hit home for me. So I said,
Hmm.
these boys, they love sports, they love music. So I ditched the curriculum. And what I did was I got books in French. One of them was on about Kobe Bryant. They were all in, I mean, they were all in. And we were reading books in French. So what I would do is just do little mini lessons, for grammar or questions they had. They were all in. We read 3 books in French that year.
Hmm.
And that's because I ditched the curriculum. And
Hmm.
I tailored everything based on what I thought they would be interested in.
Hmm.
And then we read a second book, we read 3, but the second book that really grabbed their attention, it was called Un Voyage Difficile,
Hmm.
which means a difficult trip.
Mm.
And it was about a Haitian family.
Mm-hmm.
And what I really wanted them to learn was what some refugees go through. I wanted them to have a deep
Mm-hmm.
understanding of that. So we watched a movie. We even had a guest speaker come in, but they were all in when it was time to read the book.
Mm-hmm.
So, the curriculum has to be more tailored to what our children want to learn. And if we
Ah,
did that, then maybe the algebra would make more sense to how, okay, I see why this is important now
yeah.
because it's my track. I'm going into computer science.
Mhm.
So I know I need this.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
It makes absolute sense to me because we see it. One of the problems that I have is that we see it from the ground up, but the people that are in charge of us, people who write the checks, the people who make decisions on our behalf, either have never been into a classroom, never
Very
taught in a
true.
classroom, or they've had very limited experience in a classroom. And sometimes their experience is, like a really cushy class. So they haven't hit the ground running like we have. They haven't been, foot
Right.
soldiers, as my other friend calls it, foot soldiers. They haven't been the foot soldiers. And so if they have you in the room and they come to you and they ask you that question, the same question, like, what would you change? What could you do? What would you do? If you had your own school, what would you fix? Because I always want the people that come on my show to think, even, when we promote it, it's great. But let's say a year from now, someone stumbles across it, a
Mm-hmm.
superintendent, some a change maker, a congressperson, a person who makes laws for us, and they stumble across this. What would you say to them? What exactly would you say? I know that's I already got my speech ready. But what would you say to them, Miss Braxton?
Well, if you're talking about like you said a lawmaker, somebody that writes the checks,
Yes, somebody who makes
write the
decisions.
checks, write the checks. These schools, I mean, they need funding.
Mm,
In order for us to do the things that we really want to do, in order for us to motivate the students as it stands now, especially in the States, we need money. There's something that I used to do every month. We called our students young kings, okay? So I would have a young king of the month and they would get like gift cards and, different things, based on, their engagement, their attendance, their behavior, all of those things. But it took, I used my own money
hmm
for it, out of my pocket. And most teachers do that. I was at a school board meeting, I'll never forget, in Richmond, Virginia.
hmm
And one of the teachers got up to speak, a young teacher, like probably maybe her second year or so of teaching, a kindergarten teacher, said that she spent $2,000 of her own money in order to get the classroom up to the standard she believed that her students deserved. Okay,
Yeah.
so what I would say to them is fund the schools. The schools need funding
hmm I
and
love it.
stop building the prisons.
I love it. hmm
Take that prison money that you was getting ready to use to build that new prison
hmm
and fund our schools.
Yeah. Or, take some of that athletic budget. Making these
That's
future athletes and they, dropping out after the first year in college because they can't read, write, and do math, losing their
right.
scholarships, and then they don't make it to the NFL. So you sent, yeah, I can go on this. So I'm gonna try to watch the time, but you spend all of this money, on your athletic department. You don't spend any money on your arts. You don't spend any money on music and any of that, or even your French. Let's say you had a French club. None of that. No, no money for that. Miss Braxton would have money for
Definitely.
that. And
Definitely.
but you spend money on athletics, and then the longevity of it's almost like a gamble, and you're losing. We're losing. The kids are losing, and yet we spend money on it because people want to see that our money and our values they're not aligned in the world of education. And I'm talking about at home and here. Sometimes the money is
Mhm.
not the alignment is not here either. The alignment of the value system that they said that they have in place is not here either.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
I'm going to digress from that one, but I love your statement. I wrote it down while you were talking. I love that, the new teacher was spending money. And I wonder if that new teacher had a mentor, Because I would have told my new
Probably
teacher,
not.
no,
They didn't have the funding for it.
no, yes. I'm like, because
Um,
that's another reason why I'm here to provide that ear and support for them because I would have told my teacher, because when I was a mentor, no, don't you do it. You'll get go make them come out their pocket first. Then whatever they don't
right.
buy, maybe you can buy. But yeah,
Hmm.
and I love when you said um, um, just write the check, but they don't listen to us. When they write the check, we're not in the room.
Right.
We are not in the room having these conversations. And I'm like, you don't have to talk to me. Talk to anybody that's on my level. Any teacher will say the same thing.
Right. Same thing.
Same
And the
things.
student. And the students.
And the students, yes. So
Hmm.
we could talk all day, but I'm going to go ahead and wind down, and I want you to go ahead and tell us about two things. I have two questions for you, and I want you to tell the audience about two things. First off, tell us about the Sparkle Network that you've created and the 30-day challenge.
Okay, my company is called Grow, Inspire, Sparkle. And the whole premise of the company is to empower women, right?
Mhm,
I was once a very broken woman. I mean, very broken. Like, I mean, so deep in my stuff.
mm,
And thank God that I found recovery and coaches, and that helped me so much to overcome like the things that I had gone through in my childhood. I was raped at age 11,
mm,
and not dealing with the stuff
mm,
caused the stuff to deal with me.
mm.
Hence, I'm happily divorced now. And, it just, my relationships are healthier now
Mhm,
because I dealt with the stuff. So, Grow, Inspire, Sparkle, that's our goal. We seek to help women with the stuff, and that might look like individual coaching,
mhm,
group coaching. It may look like them subscribing to our Grow, Inspire, Sparkle box, which I call it self-coaching in a box. It may look like them taking some of our online courses. The newest one we launched is called Becoming Your Beautiful Authentic Self. Because I'm going to tell you, I used to put the mask on
mhm.
and then leave the house. I would put that mask on like everything was okay.
Yeah.
But behind closed doors, my marriage was crumbling. My son at one point didn't want to live with us anymore because, the fights and the toxic behavior between me and his dad. Like my life was crumbling. But
Mm,
to look at me from the outside, you wouldn't know it because I put on a mask and left the house. I put on a mask when I had company over, like everything was fine. Even my family, my sister, my mom, they didn't even know that we were having so many marital issues
mhm.
because we both put the mask on, right?
Right.
So, through recovery and coaching, I learned to just be my authentic self, to accept my authentic self and to love my authentic self. And so that brings me into the most current initiative, and that's the 30-day Greater Self Love Challenge.
Mhm,
And it's starting on June 1st, and it's free. It's going to be 30 days of some work, not a whole, not hard work, but 30 days of some work. And anyone who joins will get 4 weeks of free group coaching in the challenge. And there are also some things that they will get free that come along with the challenge, ebooks and journals and things like that.
wow, that sounds great. That sounds awesome. I think everyone could use that. Even if they don't, I think I'm pretty well rounded, but it don't hurt. I think I'm pretty got I got, I'm not gonna lie. I mean, there's some days where I feel worse than others, but I'm like, I'm where I want to be. I'm where I
Well,
want to
that's
be. But I could always use some extra support. Okay, that's not to say, audience, that you can, I never think I got it all together, but I'm
Right.
way better than I used to be. Like you said,
Amen.
when you get rid of some of that toxic environment, and some of it that's coming from you, and you're
Mm-hmm.
free, you don't
Mm.
want to go back. You don't want to go back. You don't want to go back. You
Mm-mm.
don't want to go back. I don't
That
want to
is
go
so
back.
true.
I don't want to go back. When you find peace, I don't want to go back. I don't want to go back. Yeah. So whatever it costs me to have peace, I usually go ahead and pay that price. Yeah. So I love that. So if you heard it here first, if you haven't, if you don't see this in time, don't worry, reach out to her. I'm guarantee Miss Braxton will be available to give you any kind of coaching or any kind of plans for your life that she can cater and curtail to you. So make sure that you give us some information on how to follow you. So
Okay.
any tags you want me to add to this
Sure.
episode?
For social media, they
Mhm.
can follow me by the handle at grow_inspire_sparkle on Instagram and TikTok.
Okay.
Just Grow Inspire Sparkle on Facebook, and growinspiresparkle.com is my website.
All right. And I will make sure that they get all that information at the end of this episode. Do you have any closing thoughts before we close?
You know, so I'm going to close with something for coaching, and then I'll close with something for education.
Okay.
So I'll start with education. I believe that relationships come before rigor. And so SEL which is social emotional learning, for anyone who doesn't know what that is. Like, it's really important for me to know my students, like really know my students. And I think that once the relationship is there, then a lot of everything else falls into place, behavior. Not saying you're never going to have challenges, but fewer for sure. And they want to work. Like,
Yeah.
my students literally go to my data wall for MAP and say, "What's my goal?" Miss Braxton, like, they want to do better. But part of it is the relationship. Like, that's the foundation.
Yes. Go forward now, sis.
So
Go ahead for it
relationships
now, sis.
before rigor,
Yeah.
right? And then for coaching, or no, for Grow Inspire Sparkle, you know, um, I believe that the inside of the cup has to be cleaned before the outside of the cup.
Ooh, that's deep.
So yeah, and so that's why I started this company. I saw and worked with so many women who just transformed before my eyes. I used to lead a step study group. I did it for 2 years,
Mhm.
and just seeing them get the inside of the cup clean, and then the outside of the cup just like flourishes. Like, they start dressing different, their demeanor is different, the way they carry themselves is different. So, clean the inside of the cup first.
Wonderful. Did you hear that? If you don't hear it, it's all these people clapping. All these people out there clapping, talking about preach, 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 preach. Relationship before rigor. Did y'all catch that? Mm-mm-mm. I learned something new today about Miss Braxton. So that's going to do it for us today. I appreciate everybody's time. Miss Kimberly, I appreciate you coming on today. And that's going to do it for us. Remember now, the Burnout is a place where we help teachers revive their purpose, revitalize their passion, and regain their power. See y'all next time.
Bye.
Bye.